Hello everyone, Shinto Bean here, and this will be the first of many faction focus videos where I'm just showing you some of the cards that I made for this Age of Sigmar combat cards game. So first of all, we're going with the Seraphon, which is the faction I'm most familiar with. And here we have the Warlords. The Warlords you can easily tell by the gold border. And we've got just three here. The first one on the left is Lord Croak, one of the most powerful spellcasters in this world. So he is quite strong stats-wise. He's got 6 health, 5 armor. His attacks, he's got 2 range. And his attacks are kind of weak, but his special rule is actually very powerful. Celestial Deliverance, it's a powerful spell. So it's only active while he's on the field, after he's deployed. So it's sort of an endgame ability, but it is one of the strongest ones because it just deals 1 damage to everything on the field on a 3+. So you do roll separately for each of those, but it can potentially deal, just 3 free damage each turn. So that is Croak. He is a tier 3 unit, so he takes up 3 points in your deck though. Second, we've got Troglodon. This is a Saurus Oldblood, and he is a melee fighter with decent attacks. His special rule, Wrath of the Seraphon, does affect your bodyguards. So once per turn, you can give +2 strength to any of your Seraphon cards that are deployed with 1 range, so any of your melee units. So of course, you want to make sure that you use melee bodyguards with him. Of course, it only affects 1 per turn, so not all of your cards necessarily have to be melee for him. And then we've got Kixi Taka, which is a Skink Star Priest hero. He is tier 1, so only 1 point, meaning you have a lot of points left over for your bodyguards if you want to run lots of big dinosaurs. He's got a pretty weak attack with 2 range, but the special rule, Herald of the Old Ones, allows you to start the game with the upper hand. It basically forces your opponent to deploy all of their cards face up, and then you can just put down your cards in whatever order to best counter what they have on the field. So those are the 3 Warlords I've got for now. Of course, you could come up with more in the future, but let's move on to the Bodyguards. So first off, we got some of the tier 1 units. These are just kind of weaker infantry units. On the left, we got the Saurus Warrior, which is the kind of the strongest of these guys. His trait is Furious Charge, allowing him to deal 1 damage to the card opposite when deploying, so only activates once. In the middle, we've got the Chameleon Skink, which has a fairly weak attack. It's got 4 attacks, but only 2 strength, meaning it will struggle to actually deal any damage to pretty much anything. But it has Stealth, which provides a -1 modifier to all attacks that target the Chameleon Skink. So it's basically just there to annoy the enemy and sort of hold down a lane for a little bit. Alright, and then we got the Skink Skirmisher on the right. This one is very weak with only 2 armor, so it's easily destroyed. It has the Scout trait, which functions kind of similar to Warhammer combat cards, in that it just buffs you once after deploying. In this case, it gives a +1 modifier to hit to any of your friendly cards on the field. So that will be most effective, of course, on cards that have a lot of attacks. But there are a lot of things that could potentially combo with. Alright, moving on. We've got some slightly stronger tier 2 units here. The Saurus Knight is one of the cavalry for the Seraphon. You can see its stats are quite a bit better than those tier 1 cards. 5 health, 4 armor, 4 attacks at 4 strength, and then Furious Charge as well. In the middle, we got the Croxie Gore. Thing has 3 attacks but 5 strength, so it can easily smash apart infantry, but its Berserk trait gives it +1 strength for every point of damage it's taken. So with 5 health, if it's taken 4 damage, it'll go up to a whopping 9 strength. So that should be pretty fun to use, as long as it isn't killed outright. And then on the right side, we've got the Eternity Warden, and this one has Taunt. So Taunt in this, I'm not sure, this might be a little too strong, but at the moment it forces all enemy cards to attack the card while it's on the field. So it's not just the turn it's deployed. It's as long as this card is on the field, everything the enemy has to target it. This guy has 5 armor, so he makes him really tough, and he could potentially really disrupt the enemy's attacks. Alright, moving on. We've got the Salamander on the left. This thing is a bit of a glass cannon. It has only 4 health and 4 armor. It has 2 range, so it can hit alternate lanes, and its trait is armor piercing, which reduces the target's armor by 2. So it can pretty easily damage pretty much anything. So pretty strong attack there. In the middle, we've got the Pterodon. This thing has 5 health but only 3 armor, so pretty squishy unit. It does have a ranged attack. And outflank disrupts the enemy card's attacks. It only targets 1 enemy. It reduces 1 enemy card's attacks by 2 for the turn, and it's to a minimum of 1. So for example, if you use that on the Salamander to the left, that Salamander would only be able to attack 2 times instead of 4. So potentially can be very good when used against, say, some really powerful unit with like 3 attacks. On the right side, we've got our first tier 3 bodyguard, the Troglodon, one of the big dinosaurs. This thing has 6 health, only 4 armor, which is kind of low for a tier 3 unit, but it does have regeneration, allowing it to regain 1 health at the end of every turn on a 2+, so you do have a pretty good chance of healing it up. And in this game, though, regeneration only can heal it up to its maximum health. It can't go over 6 health. And it has 5 attacks at 4 strength, so not super powerful, but it can shred smaller units pretty easily. We're going back down to tier 1 units here with some spellcasters. We got the Skink Star Priest, which has an inspiring presence. In this case, it allows you to re-roll 1 failed attack by another friendly card each turn. So it just helps to ensure that your damage gets through. Its attacks are pretty weak, but it is just a low-cost inspiring unit. In the middle lane, we've got our healer, the Skink Priest. Pretty similar stats as the Star Priest, but this one allows you to heal a friendly unit 1 health. Obviously, it's going to be more effective on large tier 3 units when healing that, and that is just a one-time occurrence. On the right side, we've got another big dinosaur, the Engine of the Gods, and this thing has 6 health, 5 armor, 4 strength, 5 attacks. It is a melee unit, but it has a trait that potentially might be a little bit broken. I might have to change this. You can let me know what you think, but it can summon additional units. So it just happens one time. When it's deployed, you can add another tier 1 unit to your hand. So for example, if your deck didn't start with a Skink Priest, you can just add that to your hand after you deploy the Engine of the Gods. Pretty ridiculous trait. Might have to change that, but it did seem like a fun idea. Moving on, we got a lot of other big dinosaurs here. The regular old Stegodon, which has Trample. This trait allows it to deal additional damage when overkilling a unit. So if it destroys an enemy, any excess damage that it would have done can be passed on to a card in the adjacent lane. So it could potentially be pretty strong. We got the Bastillodon, which is an extremely tough dinosaur with 6 armor. This one has a ranged attack as well. And Shield. So the Shield in this iteration makes it so the card cannot take more than 1 damage the turn it was played. In this case, it's not actually all that good. It's a lot better on sort of cheaper cards, essentially preventing that card from dying the turn it was played. Of course, the Bastillodon is so tough that it's probably not going to be taking a whole lot of damage anyway. But yeah, it's still a very resilient and very powerful card. On the right side, we got the Ark of Sotek, which is just an alternate. It's a Bastillodon with a different weapon. This is the one that pours a tide of snakes out upon the enemy. So it's got 8 attacks, but only strength 2. So a lot of that damage is not going to be going through. But it does have poison for its trait. So any card that is damaged by this one becomes poison, taking 1 damage at the end of each turn. So in this game, poison is actually very powerful, and especially if you're able to poison multiple enemies, it can deal a whole lot of damage in short order. Moving on, we got the Carnosaur, a very powerful card here, with 4 attacks at strength 7. And it is a berserker as well, so it can get even more strength as it takes damage up to 7 plus 5, so that's strength 12, which can pretty much destroy anything, even the Bastillodon. But yeah, that's just a really powerful warrior card. We've got the Saurus Guard. This one is tier 1, and it's basically just a weaker version of the Eternity Warden. It has Taunt. Cheap Taunt can actually be very useful in protecting your other units, so a useful card there. We got the Saurus Sunblood. This is a tier 2 unit, only 4 health but very tough with 5 armor, and it's got Acquire Target for its trait, allowing you to focus down any enemy card on the field. Now this, I think, it's kind of still situational in this game, the way that I have range working, since you can already target cards in different lanes anyway, but this just kind of ensures that you are able to kill a card no matter what. It allows all of your cards to attack that one. So if there's a priority target, something you really need to take down, this guy can just help you get that job done. And then this is the last 3 cards here. We've got the Ripper Dactyl, which is kind of similar to the Pterodon, except it has 1 more attack and Furious Charge. We got the Slan Starmaster, powerful spellcaster, and this one has 3 range. It's actually the only Seraphon card with 3 range, so it cannot target the card opposite, but can target adjacent lanes or a lane that is 2 lanes away. And it has it's kind of a weak attack for a tier 3 unit, but it does have a powerful trait, Arcane Blast, which deals 1 damage to the enemy card with the most health at the end of every turn. So, you know, if the enemy has like say a Bastillodon, something with a whole lot of armor that's very difficult to damage, this thing can ensure that the damage gets through on something like that. You just have to kind of protect it, keep it alive. And then finally we got the Saurus Oldblood, which is just a tier 2 warrior with shields. So that is all for the Seraphon, a total of 3 Warlords and 21 Bodyguards. 24 cards total. And this is just the first of many factions, so let me know what you think about the cards here. The numbers are all, of course, subject to change. Balancing is not the easiest thing, the more cards there are, but I think the best way to test it is just through playtesting. But also let me know what you think of the traits, if you think any of them are too weak or maybe too strong, or if you have any other ideas for traits, I'd be happy to hear them. But yeah, that's it for this one. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.